G'day ladies and gents, welcome to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome to Guadalcanal in the A6M2, flying against the Americans. Guadalcanal is one of my favourite events at the moment, in War Thunder at the moment, and it doesn't matter which side I'm playing from. It doesn't matter if I'm playing from the Japanese or from the American side. It is one of the most balanced events there is. The Zeros all start on the carriers but have a higher climb rate than the American forces. The American forces, however, the non-naval varieties such as the P-40 and the Aircobras, start already pre-spawned, so your combat engagement altitude is about the same overall. Both sides have ground-based runways, so they're able to put their aircraft down for repairs and rearm. There's no advantage given to either side, or at least none that are going to ruin the balance of the match, which makes this a brilliantly fun event. Now, this video I actually recorded a couple of weeks ago. I forgot that I had it, which is a shame, because this was a brilliantly fun battle. It's me and Caden, both in the A6M2s, flying out. It did have a disappointing ending though, and we'll come to that eventually. So for the moment, we're just trying to climb for altitude, get ourselves up in the air as much as we can at the start of this battle. We know the enemy team is likely going to consist of Aircobras and P-40s. They tend to be the most popular fighters for the Americans to run on this side. And the engagement altitude is going to be somewhere around 10,000 feet. So we've got to get up there and get ready to start this fight. Now, we've chosen to climb straight off the end of the carriers, heading directly for the runway position for the Japanese forces. The reason why is, the only thing that is a little bit out of this, and it does make sense for the context of the mission, is the Japanese land runway is sitting almost directly in the middle of the ground targets that need to be destroyed in order for Allied forces to win, where the Allied runway is much further back and out of the way. It tends to make the runway positions, the AA guns, and everything in that area very popular targets for ground attackers. So we want to position ourselves in our climb over the top of the beach, leading towards that area, and then we turn back into combat to climb towards the enemy, and in the direction of their carriers. The idea here is to make sure that that stretch of extremely popular ground attack territory is directly below us, and we are in a position to defend it if we need to. I was flicking around in the cockpit before. This was very mid-patch 1.37, before they put in the option to have your ammunition and your temperature gauges displayed in the top left-hand corner of the screen. So I was actually looking around in the cockpit to check the temperature gauge, the in-cockpit one, as I'm not running the map on my second monitor at the moment. Now we've hit the area over top of our on-land runway, so we're now following down the beach. No targets sighted as yet. Ah, there's our first one. Aircobra at about 15,000 feet, maybe 16, so slightly above our current altitude. Looks like he's leveled out. We're just going to keep climbing at the angle we're on. If there's one over there, there's likely to be two or three. Get that extra altitude we need to match them, and then we'll turn into them and climb the rest for our advantage. Now, as I've said before in previous videos, the Zero doesn't need a huge altitude advantage. In fact, with its relatively low top speed and wing shear point, you don't want to have too much of an altitude advantage on the aircraft. Diving on them can result in your death just as much as it results in an advantage and your increase in your ability to be able to kill the enemy. 2,000 feet is normally more than what you need for the Zeros to be able to hit theirs. Now, I've just thrown a quick warning out to Kay. We've had a Aircobra that's snuck around the back. He just goes evasive in time. I move to assist. Now he's going head on. Going head on with an Aircobra is not a great idea. His 37mm missed me, thankfully, but his 50 cal's ripped up my wings pretty hard and pinked everything. Still, I got a crit into him. I managed to keep my wingman clear. Caden's forming back up with me. We've got the altitude advantage now. Now we're selecting targets. So we're just holding altitude, just trying to work out who would be the best ones to attack. We're just waiting for the moment where the Aircobras that are below us actually climb slightly to try and get an advantage on the fighters that they're engaging. That puts them at a low energy state for us, and we'll drop in on them. Yeah, Caden selected his target. I'm going in on the other. Throttle off and combat flaps engaged. We don't need to be going too fast here. It's a short drop to target. I'm already approaching the wind shear point and I've got everything switched off. Incendiary rounds straight in the fuel tank. Boom. First kill. Back to wet. Fold the flaps up. Get back into the air. Caden put crits into his target. And we've forced the enemy Aircobras to dive and run. Just cannot get quite close enough for a good shot here. He rolls in underneath, which is exactly what I was hoping he would do. Trying to turn against a zero is the worst possible mistake you can make. Unfortunately, the goal of the zero is to put you into a position where you have no choice but to do exactly that. He realizes turning's not going to work here and he just firewalls the throttle, points the nose down and runs for the carriers. We're never going to catch him. I fire off a burst and I managed to get a hit in, but it was never going to be a crit. So I pull the nose back up, get a little bit of altitude, and we'll get him in the next pass. Now, for those of you who don't fly the Zeros, who are more preference to flying things like the Aircobras and the P40s, pay careful attention to how me and Kay are doing this, because this is basically Zero Fighting 101. The Aircobras are faster and carry more firepower, but they're only slightly faster in a level. To get their full speed and performance out, they have to dive. In this battle, once you've the initial combat, you're almost at the same altitude. The trick is the Zeros will try and get just above you and force you into a position where you either need to turn with them to fight them, which is suicide, they'll kill you, or you need to dive and run. And so you'll dive and run in order to survive, and then they'll step down to again just above you and do it again and again and again and push you all the way down to sea level, all the way to where we've gotten these guys now. The objective is, once you're down to this altitude, you can't dive any further. You're forced into a situation where you're only slightly faster than your enemy. Your enemy has nearly 3 times your maneuverability. The Zeros will stay on you all day until you make a mistake and you die. And the truth of the matter is that the only way to sort of get yourself out of this situation once Zeros have forced you into it is to work with a teammate to clear one another's tails. You can't do it on your own because you cannot get your guns around onto the Zero unless he's stupid enough to let you do it. So that's what these two are trying to do here. They're trying to clear one another's tails. So I have to work with Caden. It's like we're on comms and all set up for this, to switch out of one another's targets. So let him go through. Now I'm being very careful here. I had a little bit too much speed on. If I pulled directly into a vertical hard over with full elevation, I would have likely sheared my wings. Got an Aircobra behind me. I know he's there. I'm not particularly worried. Comes through, pull it straight into a loop, change angle, take a couple of taps on the way through, but I was never going to present him a shot for that 37mm of his. Bring it back around. Now, third A6M2 has joined in the fun. one's fallen onto Caden, so Caden's going evasive to fall back onto him. The second A6M is engaging the other, and I am moving in to assist Caden. The more zeros that come to this party, the lower the chances are of these guys actually being able to clear one another's tails. And it's the only way to do it. If you get caught into this situation and you haven't got somebody you can work with, another plane, whether they're on comms or not, that will move to try and clear you while you're trying to clear them, the zeros have gotcha. It's from experience, it is the only way you can manage to clear your own tail is if the zero pilot makes a critical mistake, or if anti-aircraft fire from the ground decides to help you out. But again, it's pure luck rather than good management. The other A6M2 has broken away a little bit. It was getting doubled up. Unfortunately, he pulled out to a position where it was hard for me and Kay to move in to assist. We're currently in a position trying to set up ready to split these two apart again. We've let them get too close together, we have to separate them. Now, dogfighting directly over the enemy carrier group is not something I generally recommend, but it can be done providing you are constantly changing directions. Things like the zeros tend to be very good at it, despite the fact that a single hit from one of those carriers will kill them. Because they tend to juke around a lot, they're constantly moving, they're constantly rolling. It's very hard for the AAA to be able to track. Now I've just got a hit into my Cobra. Took a minor clip from AA then, it was only a small round, probably 7.62mm. Time to end this. And here's where the match went bad for me. Put my last shots in, yep, that's my kill, and I get an assist. What just happened then was another player came in, saw that he's only just arrived. That was the first shot he fired for the entire match. Now, I hate naming and shaming players, but that is Funhow. Now, Funhow did not pull the trigger the entire match. He was lurking around, constantly watching fighters ready to come in. As soon as he saw that the Aircobra had its engine shot down and I'd finally made the kill and was going to just let him fall to the ground, dove in, put a round straight in and fireballed the Cobra, stealing the kill. In the process, he also put a number of cannon rounds straight into my left wing. He's fucked my plane to the point where I'm barely able to control it. I have no choice but to break out. I can no longer move and assist Caden in his fight. Even if I could, the hit that he gave me to the left wing destroyed the left machine gun, and I ran out of cannons just on the final part of killing that Cobra. So I have a single 7.62mm machine gun left and almost no ability to fly the aircraft. As I said before, I hate naming and shaming players, but congratulations Funhow, you win Mags's January 2014 Fuckwit of the Month award. You've earned it. Luckily Caden didn't need my assistance once I broke off the second zero and he put down his target, and that was the match. So, despite the disappointing end, how did we do? Well, come in first place, I got an invincible A6M pilot, Guadalcanal hero, fighter, bulletproof, and the on-hand awards. I walked away with 39,045 Silver Lions, 10,480 aircraft research points, and 5,824 modification research points. Not that it mattered, this A6M2 is fully upgraded. Battle time was just under 15 minutes, and that was with the premium account doubled. So, there we go. For anyone who thinks that total dickhead morons don't show up in realistic battles, they all stay in arcade, you're kidding yourselves. They're everywhere, and they will sit around and just try and ruin your game regardless of where you go. Having said that, Guadalcanal, one of my favourite events, had an absolute blast. This was a great match despite besides that ending. The dogfight was great fun, the teamwork was good, props to the enemy fighters actually working with one another. I don't know if those two guys were on comms or not, but they did exactly the right thing to try and save themselves. It didn't work, but they couldn't have done any better than what they did. And it made for just a great fight overall. Well, ladies and gents, until next time, fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.